Good afternoon. Welcome to the Town of Islip September Town Board meeting. A very special meeting where we take the opportunity to celebrate Hispanic Heritage Month and the members of our community of Hispanic descent whose presence in our town has made Islip a better place to call home. Before we begin, or as we begin, I would like to ask Councilman Jorge Guadron to please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Thank you, Madam Supervisor. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Councilman. Everybody sat already. I just wanted to ask everyone to please stand for a moment to join us, actually in a moment of silence in memory of the victims of the terrorist attacks of 9/11. In addition to those who have passed as a result of their selfless and courageous response aiding in the aftermath of that tragic day. Thank you. You may be seated. Thank you. Yesterday, September 11th, marked 22 years since that tragic attack on our nation, where 90 Town of Islip residents perished. They were among the over 3,000 Americans killed. As we do each year, our town hosted a memorial ceremony on the grounds of Veterans Memorial Park, where we gathered as a community to honor the lives and memories of all those who were killed and reaffirm our pledge that we will never forget. So let us continue. Throughout the year, our town has the distinct honor of recognizing extraordinary members of the community who live their lives with determination and drive, leading by a positive example to be a force for good. This month, we are proud to recognize those members of our community of Hispanic heritage whose presence in our town has improved the quality of life for their fellow neighbors and communities. We are honored to have 4 such members of our community here with us this evening. And I believe everyone has a program, so we will begin with our first honoree, Diego Izaza. Diego, why don't you come forward? Born in Colombia, Diego came to the United States at the age of 11, joining his mother and her dream of one day owning a bakery. That dream would come to fruition, and the now thriving Sabor Latina Bakery has been serving the Brentwood community for many, many years. Having run the business for the last 5 years, taking over for his mom, Diego's work ethic, like his empanadas, remain legendary, working 7 days a week from the crack of dawn until well past 9 o'clock. This work ethic has contributed to the bakery's continued growth and the employment of 15 local community members, a ripple of positive growth to our local economy. Diego's commitment to the bakery and his employees was certainly demonstrated during the pandemic. Sabor Latino Bakery never closed its doors, both providing comfort to the community while offering a secure place of work for his employees during very uncertain times. On top of that, Diego happily and regularly donates surplus baked goods to the local community. Small businesses are the backbone of our nation, our town, our local economy, and community, and there is no better example of the American dream holding up that backbone than Diego's Sabor Latino Bakery and his wonderful baked goods. Please, yes. Please join us all in recognizing Diego. And here, this is you. If the town board would all come forward and join me in a photo. Our next honoree, Alfredo Alvarado, and I would like to ask Councilman Jim O'Connor, who nominated him, to please come to the podium to present the award.
Thank you, Supervisor. Officer, thank you. Alfredo Alvarado has dedicated himself to a life predicated on the notions to protect and serve. Born in El Salvador, Alfredo immigrated to the United States at 7 years old and graduated from Central High School in 2007. After high school, Alfredo joined the United States Army, serving as an infantryman and rising to the rank of staff sergeant, and in 2008, he deployed to Afghanistan to support Operation Enduring Freedom. Upon his retirement from active military service, Alfredo joined the ranks of the NYPD, dedicating over 3 years to the city of New York. He has continued his career in law enforcement, currently serving as a police officer in the Suffolk County Police Department's 3rd Precinct. Within the Suffolk County Police Department, Alfredo serves as a community officer in the 3rd Precinct COPE unit and assists in running the Police Explorer Post 389, organizing Cooking with a Cop to teach kids how to make simple meals at home, as well as providing gang prevention and mentoring service to at-risk youth throughout our community. His devotion to keeping our communities and the people who call them home safe is truly noteworthy. Please join me in recognizing Officer Alfredo Alvarado.
I'm teasing him because at one of the many, many community events, I said to him, or we could just call him Al for those who know Simon, it's called Simon, right? And he'd never heard the song, I couldn't believe it. But I sent it to him and he played now, I hope. Okay.
Pete, you didn't tell me he was an Army guy. We'd be here.
And our next honoree, Miguel Turrell, I would like to ask Councilman Guardone to please come forward to make that presentation. Councilman?
Thank you, Madam Supervisor.
Miguel Turrell was born and raised in Brentwood, graduating from Brentwood High School in 1999. For over 20 years, he has been dedicated to giving back to his community, serving as a Brentwood Youth Athletics basketball coach, youth mentor with the Gentlemen's Society, and a parent connector with Brentwood's My Brother's Keeper family component. Miguel has also been a dedicated volunteer of Youth Enrichment Services, where he has served as a community credible messenger, working with youth returning home from placement upstate. In 2016, Miguel founded Uplift Brentwood, later named Uplift Our Towns, a nonprofit dedicated to promoting positive community engagement and participation in Brentwood and Central Islip. Along with founding Uplift Our Towns, Miguel is the current leader of the Clean Streets Project, an annual event focused on cleaning up the neighborhoods of Brentwood, Central Islip, and Bay Shore. Throughout his career, he has demonstrated true care for the positive direction of our community's youth and the continued beauty of our town. Please join us in recognizing Miguel Turrell.
And our final honoree for Hispanic Heritage Month this evening is Carlos Cabrera. And I'd ask Councilman John Lorenzo to please come forward and make that presentation.
Thank you, Supervisor. Carlos. How are you? Good afternoon. Today I would like to nominate my good friend Carlos, Chuck as we know him, Cabrera. Chuck is a local business owner, a father, a husband, a friend, an amazing community member. Chuck's the owner of the Sable Inn. He also owns a few other businesses, the Barnyard, also known as the Bordy Barn. I'm sure some of you out there know about the Bordy Barn. Yeah, they'll be there, right? John Scott's out in West Hampton Beach, right? Over there. Chuck and his crew are always there to lend a helping hand for our community. They employ so many young girls and boys in the town, in our district, and they teach them work ethic. They teach to be efficient. They schedule. They do all their schedules, everything. Chuck is just a godsend to the community and Sayville in particular, where my district is. My wife and I have been personally able to enjoy Chuck. Our son works for Sayville also, and he's done a great job with our son and taught him a lot of pride and work ethic on this. So I appreciate that for Chuck. But as if he doesn't have too much more spare time, he volunteers his time for many nonprofits also. He is on the neighborhood board of Sayville, which deals with suicide and drug overdose. He is on the Chamber of Commerce Golf Committee for Sayville. He is a part of the Michael Murphy Museum. Any time that someone in the community asks Chuck or his crew to open up their business or donate something or have a party or whatnot, Chuck is right there. In times of good and times of bad, he's right there every time. So I can go on and on about Chuck, but I'm proud to have him in my district as a community member, and I'm more proud to call him my friend. So please join me in congratulating Chuck on his nomination. Take care, Pete.
We should have had Diego and Chuck bring refreshments. We have a few quick announcements before we get to the agenda. September is National Recovery Month, and by now I'm sure you've noticed the banners and flags and ribbons and lights shining purple across the town as part of Islip Goes Purple Month, the month-long initiative to raise awareness of mental health and substance abuse disorder, as well as celebrate those in recovery. Earlier this month, we kicked off this awareness campaign with a color run and cupola lighting right here at Town Hall. And tomorrow, September 13th, in recognition of Overdose Awareness Day, it's a statewide initiative, so we're encouraging all residents of all ages throughout the town to join us in wearing purple to show their support and continue to spread this initiative. There are many more events coming, so just help spread the word of that mission, and go to islipny.gov for all of the events that are coming up. Also, this month, the Islip Animal Shelter and Adopt a Pet Center is hosting a free rabies vaccination clinic on Saturday, September 30th. Residents are invited to bring their dogs, cats, and ferrets to Brookwood Hall, located at 50 Irish Lane, East Islip, to ensure their pets' protection and continue to keep them healthy all year long. Dog licensing and microchipping will also be available for an additional fee, so just check the website and social media for full details. Lastly, it's the last week of summer officially, but there's so much on the horizon for fall, so many activities to look forward to, and we'd ask everyone to refer to the Fall Rec Guide to see many of the fun events still ahead, not the least of which is our wildly popular Apple Fest being held at Islip Grange in Sayville on Broadway on Saturday, October 21st. So check the website for all that's happening, and again, thank you so much. And a final congratulations again to all the wonderful honorees for Hispanic Heritage Month. Thank you. Okay, we have a number of cards, so before we go to the agenda, we will go to the public portion. And just want to remind everybody. I don't have it. No, I mean, I do have it, but that's not on there. Yeah, I know there were 4. So we're doing the public hearings before we're doing the,
Either way.
yeah. All right, I think we'll go right to the public portion. And to just remind everyone that this is your opportunity to bring any issues forward. You have 3 minutes to address the board. Again, it's not a question and answer. If you do have some issues that need specific attention, the commissioners are here and they'll, step out in the hall with you and address those one-on-one. Our first speaker this evening is Catherine Citrano.
Good evening. The town of Islip spent over $9 million on its new shelter to better serve the needs of this community, and in some ways it has. Yet if you happen to be one of the unlucky residents to find a stray or feral cat in your yard, you will be underserved, or from my perspective, get very little help at all from the shelter. You might be told you can borrow a trap, or simply told to stop feeding the cats, which does nothing to stop reproduction, or you might get the number of a rescue that may be able to help. This is what I have heard from residents that have called the shelter for help and then called me, and sometimes my phone number has been given out by shelter staff. I am a private, nonprofit 501c3 with 90% of my rescue's budget being supplied by my pension. I have no paid staff, and I have been helping in this community since 2013 at great personal expense and commitment. I have been all in and I like helping, but I often feel like I'm doing the shelter's job. It has been exhausting, and I'm here today, 1 year later from the last time I spoke, to express concern at the lack of commitment and resources to get this problem under control in our township. There's no line item in our budget for trap, neuter, return, and I know the town of Islip Animal Lovers League clinics have ended. I have volunteered for most of those clinics, trapping cats for residents, assisting in the trailer with spay neuter, and recovering cats after surgery. I would like to know what is next. The model that has been used at the time, still wasn't enough to sufficiently serve our community, in my opinion. Rescuers are tired, I'm tired, and we can't do it all. I give my time willingly, but I can't pay for all the cats in the town of Islip that need to be fixed. I feel confident that most rescuers would feel the same, and I think it's unrealistic to think that most residents can or will pay out of pocket to fix cats that are not theirs. Times are still tough on people economically. If nothing is done, or if the problem is addressed in a way that is too small for the scale of the problem, cats will suffer and people will be stressed as they deal with a problem that they feel ill-equipped to fix. Every minute the town delays in providing a free or low-cost spay-neuter program, the problem grows. I'm aware of many of the other current models that municipalities are using, and I'm looking forward to working with the town once again to be part of the solution. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Catherine, and I know that the commissioner is working on it and there is a meeting scheduled. Thank you. Next speaker, Pat.
Okay, Pat. Last month, several residents were thanked for their contribution to the community, except when the Sisters of St. Joseph's were up here. You never thanked them. You never said anything for all the things that they do for the community. In Brentwood, the vegetables, everything, the flowers, they're the largest growers on Long Island, and they were ignored and not thanked. Then, when foiled, that's the freedom of information. This is taxpayer money we foiled for. It's a big secret. We asked for all the co-payments for the ambulance. Besides it being illegal for the town to violate a HIPAA law, there was no money to be found that was paid out. Yet it's in the contract. As for insurance companies, they stated when it's a contracted ambulance, just like we pay our taxes for the garbage, we pay taxes for the ambulance, but then they're getting double billed. The ambulance companies are now billing the insurance too, on top of the fact that we pay in our taxes. And I was very shocked to see that in the contract for Brentwood, you told them they had to come up to equal $5 million besides the $3 million you were giving them. They were to do it on billing. The DPW vehicles the commissioner got, I don't know, as a bribe or what, but he was driving as his own. It was registered to a vendor who won a bid. Some of them, most of them had town seals on them, yet they were a town vehicle registered to the vendor. Nobody can find them. You need more time. And then lastly, the airport workers, under somebody's rule, have been shaking down vendors whom won bids for work. The workers are extorting for an extra 10% of the bill, or they will not provide work. They have actually gone to the vendors' businesses. Now, as you can see, with everything added up, the only thing under your watch has going to racketeering and extortion. You're an embarrassment to this town. Those sitting up there with you, shame on you too. You're not excused from keeping your mouth shut. You all have a job paid for by the residents to do.
Thank you, Pat. Next speaker, Wanda Scott.
Good evening, Board. Thank you for allowing me to speak. It's very quick and simple.
If you could just write into the microphone, please, so
Oh,
we can
okay.
hear you.
Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you
No
for
problem.
allowing me to speak. It's very simple, short. I live in Central Islip, and I don't know if it's considered by the town or anyone when the deal was made with Long Island Railroad with that double track. It's causing a lot of congestion at the railroad crossings in Central Islip, at Suffolk Avenue, Carlton Avenue, and Lowell Avenue. So I'm just hoping that everyone takes a note of that and maybe find some way to address the traffic issues. And just recently, on the corner of, I believe it's Joshua's Path, Caleb's Path, I can't remember the two, someone put a stop sign on Evergreen. So when you turn that corner, it just backs the traffic up even more. The other thing is that I'm noticing a lot in the neighborhoods that there are a lot of commercial vehicles being parked in residential properties and on the streets. I understand that parking violations, they stop work at a certain time, and when people come home from work, then all of a sudden the cars are there. I don't know if you can allot overtime for someone to patrol the neighborhood in the evenings and see about the commercial vehicles being parked. I know I had two specific things there, and I think right now that's all I'll address for now. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Wanda. And if you can provide us with those streets that the commercial vehicles are being parked on, it'll make it easier for us to send code enforcement out.
Okay, well, I was trying to avoid, saying, oh, well, this
No,
house,
no.
this car.
If
But
you-
it's just that it's so much. I don't know if other people are having that problem in their neighborhoods, but it's enough that they can patrol and see that there's
Okay.
cars being, parked.
Thank you.
But if it's necessary, I'll make a list, but I don't think it's just a little too much that really a list doesn't need to be made.
Well,
And a
if you
big,
could just give us the general vicinity of what you're talking about. Are you talking Joshua's Path? Are you talking Carlton Ave? I mean, where are you talking? In your neighborhood?
Okay,
Just give
I
us
can
a-
do-
a
I can do
general
that.
location.
Yeah,
Thank you.
and one extra, if you don't mind, I didn't put it down. If we can just maybe, the neighborhood in between Spur Drive, Long Island Railroad, Islip Avenue to Wilson, if we can just address maybe the streets and the sidewalks. The neighborhood is pretty old, and the streets and the sidewalks, I mean, a lot of the streets haven't been paved in Central Islip in a while. grass is growing and so forth. I live on Route, so you can pay
Okay.
attention to Route
We'll
first.
go from there. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Next
Have a good day.
speaker.
Thank you for hearing.
Carrie Gallagher.
Hi, I wanted to bring up the requirement to produce personal identification to gain access to this building during regular business hours. My driver's license. This is a violation of the Fourth Amendment to me, to be secure in my person, my home, and my papers. My papers, my driver's license. A lot of Americans fought and died and suffered to serve the Constitution and this republic. This intentional abridgment of this right is an insult to their sacrifice, in my opinion. This is the land of the free and the home of the brave. The locked doors downstairs and the requirement to provide my personal papers says to everybody, well, this government is closed to all but a few people. Barring access to these offices without producing the personal papers also strikes me as anti-American. It's a slippery slope from this to the fascism of Europe in World War II. Papers, please. Passers-by on the street should be granted free access to explore the levers of their own government. This place should be open. What it says is this building is closed, again, to people with certain access. I was told that, well, what if this? What if there's a fire? What if this? There's a lot of what ifs in life, but the what ifs do not supersede our constitutional privileges. It does not make me or anyone else more safe or less safe by providing my personal papers. What does make us more safe is what you do have in place: the security guard, the locking door, and the video surveillance. All of those things are great, and they promote safety. Requiring personal paperwork does not. I ask you to please consider reversing this policy immediately, or at a very minimum, consider making this an opt-out verbally for anybody who asks. Meaning you can continue to ask for it, but if somebody refuses, there's no reason they should not be granted access to this building. And I will say, I stopped at the Town of Babylon Town Hall before coming over here. It's open, they have surveillance, they have a uniformed guard, and I was invited to just walk right in. I'm not even a resident of Babylon. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much. Next speaker, Andy Cross.
Andy Cross, Bayshore, New York. And once again, I'm here about the NYS real property tax law line on my tax bill. Although down this year, it should have been down the last 5 years, because when you said it was up, the tax was up due to the price of housing that went down. The price of 41% housing has went up at least 5 years, and tax has also gone up 5 years. The year before the 41% tax increase, the tax went down. Does this mean next year's tax bill will go up another 41% next year? And is there any way you can get our tax bills before the election so we can see how much our taxes are going up and vote appropriately? 2 years ago, I was told by the town board members that my whole neighborhood was going to be repaved due to the fact that streets in West Islip have been done 2 and 3 times, while our neighborhood was not repaved at all. Was I told this lie just to keep me quiet? And the whole neighborhood is still not paved after 2 years. After passing the 5-story apartment building in Bayshore with its tax breaks from the Industrial Development Agency, why does Islip taxpayers have to pay increased taxes which subsidize the rent that people will be paying for these apartments. How did the owner get tax breaks from the IDA? Apartment houses have nothing to do with industrial development. Do we need the DA or the Attorney General to look into this? Is the guy that got these tax breaks politically connected? And where are all the cars gonna park? On the street? So they have to pay the meters? It's about time that the town stopped using Bay Shore as a test to pay for the town board's mistakes and tax breaks. Take the meters away from Bay Shore. Anything? Mr. Cochran, you're supposed to be representing Bay Shore. Yeah. Thanks for nothing.
Thank you, Mr. Cross. Next speaker, Greg.
Yes, on September 2nd, I needed to call 911. My wife had a bout of vertigo, so who responded was Exchange Ambulance. And when they got to the house, one of the first things, even before they took her vitals, they wanted her insurance card, okay? And I said, well, if I refuse to give you the card, I said, what would happen then? And she said, well, you'll be billed in full. I said, oh, really? I said, all right, here's the card. So I had to retrieve this card at the South Shore University Hospital. They took it with them, okay? But that following week, I called Aetna, the carrier, the provider. I said, you know, I don't know if you folks are aware of this, but in the town I live in, it has 5 ambulance districts in which we, the taxpayers, are paying a tax to have this service available to us. And I said, what they're doing is, now they're demanding that we show insurance cards when we dial 911 for an emergency call. So I told her, the woman I was speaking to let me speak to an investigator, which she did. And I told that investigator, I said, please, when you receive this bill from the billing company, I gave them all the information, please do not pay the bill. Refuse the payment on the bill. She said, well, we will. From what the information and facts you provided to us, we will not pay that bill. I said, thank you very much. But I want you to know that I'm willing to testify that this practice has been going on for a few years now, and it involves all 5 districts where they're taxing, we're giving taxable revenue to have these people, to give us this this coverage and this EMS services, okay? So what I'm trying to say here is this. You refuse to repay the people's co-payments that were taken from them, and you know who these people are. There's no record of the town giving monies to cover the co-payments, co-insurance payments as well. So what is it? Where did this money go? Where's the money that's covering these people who paid co-payments that should have never been charged co-payments according to what you wrote in your contracts? Okay? You may want the attorney to look into this a little deeper. I mean, you know, or Mr. O'Connor, I know he practices insurance fraud. Okay? Because as a taxpayer, this is taxation without representation. We are paying taxes to have this service available to us, and now you're allowing them because you're saying that they can bill. Yes, a private ambulance company like Northwell, if they dispatch an ambulance, I'm more than willing to pay for that service. But when I'm paying taxes to provide the service, and then you're billing me on top, that's fraud. That's what you're committing here, is fraud. Okay? So this isn't going to go away, Angie. No matter what happens, it's not going away.
Thank you, Greg. We'll see you next month. Next speaker, Marilyn Zucker.
Hi, I'm calling about, I'm up here to ask you to shut down Sloth Encounters. I've advocated for animals my whole life, and I've worked with many different species. One thing they all have in common is they are individuals with individual needs. Right now, among others, I have 3 rescue chickens, each with her own personality. They're not objects, they're not props. They exhibit joy and fear and depression. The animals at sloth encounters are just a mere means to a financial end. Whenever animals are used as commodities, you can bet that they're not treated properly. I doubt sincerely that they're going to be cared for in their old age with expensive veterinary care and lifelong care. They're just props for this one individual's personal gain. Would you want your dog treated that way? Would you want to be treated that way? I don't think any of us would. Their only hope is for caring individuals, such as several people in the room here today, to speak up on their behalf. They can't speak for themselves. And for elected officials such as you to help the most vulnerable, and animals such as the animals in sloth encounters are indeed very vulnerable and in desperate need of help. Thank you. Please shut them down.
Thank you. John DiLeonardo, when you're coming forward, I would just ask counsel, because I know that there's litigation here, we have this business in court. Can you just give an update so everyone's aware of this as they're listening to these comments?
I guess my concern was that there's going to be additional issues raised by the other speakers. I will address them all at once, but it is still a pending contempt before Justice Santorelli, and there's still code enforcement cases in front of the district court criminal judge. He was found to be in contempt of court. It's extremely frustrating for me and my attorneys. We'll just keep swinging away in court.
Okay. And that's important to know. I mean, we have to operate within the confines of the legal system, and sometimes we too are at the mercy of the court, but we have sent investigators in, fire marshals, we've taken them to court, and quite frankly, we are doing all that we possibly can. Thanks, Mike. John?
So my name is John DiLeonardo. I am an anthrozoologist and the executive director of Humane Long Island. Humane Long Island and 4 ISLIP residents just filed a bombshell motion to intervene in Suffolk Supreme Court, revealing that Sloth Encounters has remained open in spite of a Supreme Court justice finding the business and its owner guilty of contempt for defying court orders to close. Not only does Humane Long Island's motion document Sloth Encounters directing customers to park off-site and ushering them through a back entrance of the store, but it also reveals Wallach repeatedly exhibited the sloths, kangaroos, and capybaras at apparently unlicensed marijuana parties within Islip Township, where the organizer alleges the sloths got high. This motion follows Sloth Encounters owner Larry Wallach recently pleading guilty to state charges of trafficking Nile monitors, and Wallach being convicted of civil contempt of court earlier this summer. For those who don't know what Nile monitors are, they're venomous reptiles who grow up to 7 feet long. Wallach was also recently cited by the federal government for violating the Animal Welfare Act after endangering a baby kangaroo and mishandling sloths. Before that, Wallach was cited for more than 50 federal violations of the Animal Welfare Act, including recent critical violations for lying to USDA inspectors about an incident involving the bite of a child at his illegal hop hog facility, and for mishandling the animals in a way that's dangerous to the public and the animals. Sloth Encounters has now been ordered closed by the Suffolk Supreme Court 3 separate times, and owner Larry Wallach has pled guilty to wildlife trafficking despite testifying at his contempt hearing that he's never offered for sale animals defined as wild by New York State. Why hasn't ISLIP brought Wallach back to court for perjury? And why did ISLIP fail to even mention his state charges at his contempt hearing? Why is ISLIP continuing to allow Sloth Encounters to exploit animals in endangered residents in violation of town code? Why also has ISLIP failed to fine Sloth Encounters' owner for the nearly $15,000 it should owe the town since being held in contempt while ISLIP continues to tax and fine its own residents? Your residents want to know why its officials are moving at a sloth's pace, and they want Sloth Encounters shut down now.
Thank you. Next speaker, Kara O'Brien. Kira O'Brien.
Hi, I'm Kira O'Brien. I'm a licensed master social worker. I'm from North Babylon in Suffolk County. Okay, so the first thing I'd like to bring up is a concern about Mr. Wallach. I've recently been informed that he has a history of allegations of drugging women for sexual intercourse as young as 17 in Long Beach, Long Island, and in Florida. The women were afraid to report this. They are only allegations. However, it has also come to my attention that he has in fact also been arrested for rape and drugs such as cocaine in his car. However, the charges were dropped because the woman was afraid to face him in court, and the drugs he was driving, he wasn't driving his own car, but they were his drugs. So I went to Sloth Encounters after I was asked to check and see the conditions that the animals were living in. Hopefully this is the last encounter I ever have with him. He told me about the lions he had in his apartment in Nassau County, told me that I was welcome to come there anytime. I was told by other people that he most likely does not have lions. That would be illegal to have in his apartment. And I do feel nervous about what if I had gone to his apartment and lions weren't there? What would he have told me? Would he have said, oh, they're at the vet, why don't you come in? Would he have drugged me? You know, though, not that it really matters, but one of the women were as young as 17. You know, he shows a history of, again, some of these are allegations, but of predatory and exploitative behavior. You know, he does use animals to lure women in. He demonstrates patterns of antisocial and predatory behavior. Basically, you know, with these, you know, a lot of these petting zoos, they're not here to really educate the public. You know, we should be teaching children to respect and nurture and protect wildlife, and this is really, you know, the whole business is really exploitative. You know, it teaches children the wrong things, and I was really relieved that that Sloth Encounters was actually shut down. The only thing is that he's still operating from the back of his building. He's bringing the sloths and other wildlife to illegal drug lounges in, I think it was Ronkonkoma, but I'm not sure, maybe ask John. But you know, this is somebody who's not respecting the law. He's not, he clearly does not respect humans, animals, or anyone else. And it's just very alarming. And I guess that's it. I hope that this is taken seriously, because this is somebody who really does not care about the welfare of anyone. It seems like he's just on to, you know, if he gets caught on one thing, he's going to go to the next. So thank you.
Thank you, Kira. Next speaker, Mary Moore.
Hello. I think I'm going to be quick. So on Sunday, I went down to the East Islip Marina. I live in East Islip. My name is Mary Moore. And I'm down there pretty regularly. And I noticed there were bulldozers, huge ones, like 4 of them. It was Sunday, so they were just kind of parked right as you enter into the marina. So I posted that on Facebook to ask if anyone knew about it, but no one knew about it. Like, no one knew about it. I had gotten over 50 responses, and people were a little concerned because you could see that that they were already kind of knocking down trees, and these are huge bulldozers. So my question is, I went there on Monday then, and there was a young man who was an environmentalist from Suffolk County, and he told me it was for dredging, that dredging will be put there. But my question really is that, you know, no one was notified. The East Islip is a very wonderful place for a lot of people in East Islip and other people who come into East Islip. There were a lot of trees down. You know, this is a huge swath of land that is being emptied for dredging, and of course for the sand and the slush, the slug. You know.
I do, yeah.
Yes. And it's smelly. You know, people, and it's right kind of by the road, and people are jogging up there. Everyone jogs up there and they walk up there. You know, it's really such a prize though. We all love the East Islip Marina. So we're worried about, obviously, the trees, all the trees. You know, trees are very important. There are a lot of animals there, and they need the coverage of the trees. So there's that. the people that go to there are, as I said, jogging by and everything, and the smell that might, I'm not sure, it wasn't discussed, no one knew about it, it was all of a sudden these huge bulldozers showed up and it took no time at all for them to clear most of the land, they're still doing it, but I just wanted to know what the process was and why the community wasn't involved. That's basically what I want to know.
All right, thank you, Mary, but I would just ask, rather than going on Facebook and asking questions, if someone had called the town and given us the opportunity to investigate, because I don't have the answer right now. Today is Tuesday. If you had called or even called our 24/7 dispatch number, it would have given us the opportunity to have the answers for you. And
yeah.
the commissioner is here, he may know.
I'm sorry to interrupt.
That's all right, we'll let him go out. And
Yeah, speak to her, because
Okay.
I just spoke to him before this meeting about this issue, so if the commissioner would speak to you, I think.
Okay, yeah, I didn't, it was just, my concern was, Ms. Carpenter, that it was already, like, one more second of all the major bulldozing. Like, they were just taking out so many trees. There's a lot of wildlife there. And I felt, we just did like people doing, hi, does anyone know what's going on?
What you say, but you going on Facebook asking.
Does anyone know what's
people
going
and
on?
50 people saying, I don't know, if someone had called the town.
Well, we couldn't call on Sunday. I know you
Well,
probably
yes,
think we should have
you
waited.
can. There is a 24-hour,
Really?
24/7 public safety dispatch number. You could call and register that complaint. If you call
So-
constituent services, it will roll over to that 24/7 number if you call after hours. So we'll look into it. I'll ask the commissioner to go out if he has an answer for you. If not, we will look into it and get back to you.
Well, thank you very much
Thank
for
you.
listening.
Next speaker, Juliana Di Leonardo.
Hi there. My name is Juliana, obviously, and I'm with Humane Long Island. I'm not going to repeat what everyone else has said so far. However, regarding sloth encounters, it doesn't make any sense as to why you guys are moving so slow with tackling this situation. He clearly is not a person who cares about the law or the well-being of people, humans, children, and animals altogether. Back when I first investigated Larry Wallach's facility, he was telling me that the animals, he compared them to dealing drugs and selling stolen merchandise. And now we're finding out that he's taking these animals to cannabis lounges and getting them high. So, what's going on here? It pretty much, we knew what was going to happen, and it's happening right now. So why is it taking so long? Why is this not an urgent matter to you? So I really hope that something gets done now, because what's going to happen next? Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, Rami Asmaran.
Hi, good evening. My name is Rami Asnaran, and I live in Ronkonkoma. About a year ago, I saw that Sloth Encounters was in business while I was driving down Vets Highway. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. I actually thought it was a toy store at first glance. I wish it had been. When I realized what this store was, what this business was, I called John DiLeonardo from Humane Long Island, and he confirmed that they have been trying to shut down this business. And after several court appearances, fines, and a law that now bans sloths from traveling performances, Larry Wallach still continues to defy the law and is getting away with it. My question to you is, what is going to take Town of Islip to shut this business down and protect the sloths? Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, Donna Powers.
Hi, Donna Powers, Islip. Regarding the sloth encounters, again, like she said, I'm not going to repeat either. I just wanted to share some information briefly with you about sloths so you can kind of get the vision. I know you're working on it, as you said, but if anything can be done to speed it up, that would be great, because we are really the voice for the voiceless. These animals can't come in and represent themselves. A couple of things about sloths is that they don't like to be held, they don't like to be pet, they don't like to be groomed, and that's exactly what's going on when these people go to the sloth encounters. Also, Sloths are blind. They can only see poorly in dim light. So if you can just imagine what their life now is like at Sloth Encounters, to be in that environment where they don't like to be touched and they can't see and they have all these people reaching out to them and holding them and touching them, we really need to do something about it. Also, to follow up what Catherine said, I also do animal rescue on a much smaller scale than her. But it is just crazy to me that the problem with the feral cat population in the town of Islip is basically left up to the residents. The amount of work and time and effort and expense and grief, the emotional toll that it takes to deal with trying to rescue cats, trapping them, feeding them, getting them fixed, trying to find homes for the friendly ones, trying to figure out what to do with the feral ones. It's exhausting, and it would really be nice if the town could help in some way to help support so it's not left up to the citizens, because it's just really out of control. Thank you.
Thank you, Donna. That's it for the speakers. I'll entertain a motion to close the public portion.
Make that motion.
Motion by Councilman Cochran, second by Councilman Guardiola. All those in favor, opposed, the public portion is closed, and we will now move to the public hearings. Before we go to the hearings, I just asked the town clerk to read the announcement regarding the 2023 tentative budget.
Thank you. Good evening, Madam Supervisor and members of the board. The tentative budget for the 2024 year has been filed in the office of the town clerk as provided by Town Law Section 106, Subdivision 2. I'm also presenting it to you at this meeting in accordance with Town Law Section 106, Subdivision 3.
Thank you very much, Madam Clerk.
Can we get a copy?
I'm sure the controller will be happy
Yes,
to provide you
we'll
with a copy.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll begin with the four scheduled public hearings that we have this evening, and I'd ask Madam Clerk to please read the first hearing notice.
The first hearing is to consider the transfer of property located at 393 Evergreen Avenue, Central Islip, under the Town of Islip CDA's housing program.
Are there any questions? Hearing none, motion?
Motion to close the public hearing.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Approved. Madam Clerk, if you would, the next hearing notice, please.
Hearing number 2 this evening is to consider the transfer of the property located at 379 Hancock Street in Brentwood under the Town of Islip CDA's housing program.
Again, are there any questions? Hearing none, motion?
Make a motion to close the hearing and then accept the transfer.
Thank you, Councilman Cochran. We have a motion. We have a second by Councilman Guardiola. All those in favor? Opposed? It is approved. If you would, hearing number 3.
Hearing number 3 is to consider amending the Town of Islip Uniform Traffic Code, Schedule G, stop and yield intersections, Schedule H, speed limits on certain streets, and Schedule J, parking, stopping, and standing regulations.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Any questions? Motion?
Make a motion to close the public hearing, offer the resolution for its adoption.
We have a motion by Councilman O'Connor, second by Councilman Guardiola. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Approved. And we will go to the fourth hearing notice.
Today's last hearing is to consider the enactment of Local Law Number 5 of 2023, amending Chapter 7 of the Town of Islip Code and establishing the Town of Islip Department of Civil Service.
Are there any questions on this? A hearing none, motion?
Motion to close the public hearing and adopt the resolution.
We have a motion by Councilman Guardiola, second by Councilman Lorenzo. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Approved. We will now move to the items on the agenda. The first item, clean up and secure certain properties in the Town of Islip. Jeff?
Good evening, Madam Supervisor, members of the Town Board and the Town Clerk. Jeffrey Panache, Assistant Town Attorney, 655 Main Street, Islip, New York. I have 4 matters on for your consideration this evening. Number 1, to clean up the premises located at 448 Wheeler Road in Hauppauge. On this vacant property that now exists high grass, overgrown vegetation, and litter and debris, including an unregistered camper, which constitutes a nuisance and presents a fire safety and health hazard. Notice of this hearing was provided to all known persons with a property interest in this premises.
Any questions? This is an eyesore for a long time. I'll make a motion. Do I have a
Second.
second? Motion by myself, second by Councilman O'Connor. All those in favor? Opposed? Approved.
Number 2 has been withdrawn as it is now in compliance. Number 3, to clean up the premises located at 831 Keith Lane in West Islip. On this vacant property, there now exists high grass, overgrown vegetation, and litter and debris, including broken furniture, a rusted barbecue, a deflated plastic swimming pool, and other assorted items, which constitute a nuisance and present a fire, safety, and health hazard. Notice of this hearing was provided to all known persons with a property interest in this premises.
Any questions? Hearing none, motion?
Motion.
A motion by Councilman Cochran, second by Councilman Lorenzo. All those in favor? Opposed? It's approved.
And number 4 has been withdrawn as it is also now in compliance. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. We will now move to item 2, the appropriation transfers. Any questions? Hearing none, motion? Motion by Councilman Lorenzo, second by Councilman Cochran. All those in favor? Opposed? Approved. Next item on the agenda are bid awards. Any questions? Motion by Councilman O'Connor, second by Councilman Lorenzo. All those in favor? Opposed? Approved. Next item on the agenda are the bid awards. I'm sorry.
You just did bid awards.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Option.
Option. I think it was a question. All right, item number 4, the option year resolutions. Any questions? Motion?
Motion.
Motion by Councilman Guadrone, second.
Second.
By Councilman Cochran. All those in favor? Opposed? Approved. Item 5 is an authorization for supervisor to execute an agreement with BOCES of Nassau County for contract number 22/23-053, furniture, classroom, and office. Any questions? Motion? Motion by Councilman Lorenzo, second.
Second.
By Councilman Guadrone. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Approved. Item 6, authorization for supervisor to execute an easement for access at 15 Hemlock Drive, Bay Shore, for drainage purposes. Any questions? Motion by Councilman Cochran, second by Councilman Guadrone. All those in favor? Opposed? Approved. Item 7 is an acceptance of deed from Vets Holbrook LLC for a portion of property located on High Street in Holbrook. Any questions? Motion? Motion by Councilman Lorenzo, second by Councilman O'Connor. All those in favor? Opposed? Approved. Item 8, authorization for supervisor to enter into various agreements for programs to be held throughout the town. Any questions?
Motion.
Motion by Councilman Guadrone, second.
Second.
By Councilman O'Connor. All those in favor? Opposed? Approved. Item 9 is an authorization of the town clerk to advertise for a public hearing to consider amending the Islip Town Uniform Traffic Code. Any question? Motion by Councilman O'Connor,
Second.
second by Councilman Guadrone. All those in favor? Opposed? Approved. Item 10, authorization for supervisor to enter into a contract with Waterside Contracting Corp. Inc. for DPW 9-2023 Champlain Creek Boat Ramp Replacement. Any questions? Motion by Councilman
Second.
O'Connor, second by Councilman Lorenzo. All those in favor? Opposed? Approved. Item 11, authorization for supervisor to enter into a professional services agreement with Clean Associates PC in connection with the brine tank located at the Bay Shore Highway Yard. Any questions?
Motion.
Motion by Councilman Cochran, second by Councilman Lorenzo. All those in favor? Opposed? Approved. 12, authorization for supervisor to enter into a professional services agreement with L.K. McLean Associates PC in connection with the brine tank located at the Sayville Highway Yard. Any questions? Motion?
Motion.
Motion by Councilman Lorenzo, second by Councilman O'Connor. All those in favor? Opposed? Approved. Item 13 is an authorization for supervisor to enter into a license agreement with Martin's Marine for use of the bulkhead located in Islip. Any questions? Motion? Motion by Councilman Lorenzo,
Second.
second by Councilman Guadrone. All those in favor? Opposed? Approved. Item 14 is an approval for the consent to the sublease by and between Suffolk County Water Authority and New Singular Wireless PCS LLC for the property located at 51 3rd Avenue in Brentwood. Are there any questions? Motion by Councilman Guadrone, second by Councilman Cochran. All those in favor? Opposed? Approved. Item 15, authorization for supervisor to execute an easement for a certain parcel of land located at 0 Main Street, Bay Shore. Any questions? Motion? Motion by Councilman O'Connor, second by Councilman Guadron. Any, all those in favor? Opposed? It is approved. Item 16 is an authorization by the supervisor to enter into a license agreement with Thomas Novelli Contracting Corp. for the exclusive use of a portion of town-owned property located at 31 Carlton Avenue in Central Islip regarding a sewage installation project. Any questions? Motion by Councilman Guadron, second by Councilman Lorenzo. All those in favor? Opposed? Approved. Next, special events. There are 5 parades, runs, festivals, and so much more. Thank you to the department helping organize it all. Motion by Councilman Guadron, second by Councilman Lorenzo. All those in favor? Opposed? Approved. Item 18, authorization supervisor to execute an agreement with Race is Awesome to provide services in connection with the Northwell Health Great South Bay Run. Motion by Councilman Cochran, second by Councilman Lorenzo. All those in favor? Opposed? It is approved. Item 19, authorization supervisor to renew the professional services agreement with ASI Flex for administration of flexible spending arrangements. Any questions? Motion by Councilman O'Connor, second by Councilman Guadron. All those in favor? Opposed? Approved. Item 20, authorization for the town clerk to advertise for public hearing to consider enacting local law number 6 of 2023 entitled Prohibition on Smoking and Vaping of both tobacco and cannabis on certain town properties. Thank the town attorney's office for their work on this. Any questions?
Motion.
Motion by Councilman Cochran, second by Councilman Lorenzo. All those in favor? Opposed? It is approved. Item 21, authorization supervisor to execute any documentation necessary to memorialize and effectuate certain title salary adjustments and grade changes for UPSI employees. Any questions? Motion by Councilman O'Connor, second by Councilman Lorenzo. All those in favor? Opposed? Approved. Next item is 22. Item 22 is a decision item. 22 through 24, decision items for change of zone applications that we have heard presentations. These items were recessed for a number of questions and clarifications that I think we've had. The first being item 22, for an application to modify covenants and restrictions associated with TC 3892 to permit more than one curb cut onto Motor Parkway. Now, since this has been closed, does that hearing notice have to be read again? Yeah. Okay, I didn't think so. Thank you. So, Sean, the questions were satisfied on this. Do you want to briefly run through it if anyone has any questions?
Just to be brief, the applicant has agreed to pay the full punitive fee that was prescribed in the original TC. And should be noted that that curb cut was approved by Suffolk County and has operated with no known issues.
Perfect.
So we're talking about the $32,570?
That is correct.
Thank you.
Great. And hopefully the planning board will know that we don't haggle. Okay, do I have a motion?
Motion.
Motion by Councilman Guadron, second by Councilman Cochran. All those in favor? Opposed? Approved. Next we have item 23, which was the laundry room, and that too was a question on the hours, and I do believe, did I get a request or if it's changed to recess this?
That is correct.
Okay, so we will recess this till the next meeting or the next change of zone. Item 24, Islip Yards, applicant requesting a modification of covenants and restrictions. We had a woman who came forward, if everybody remembers, who had some concerns about the visibility from her property. This was built after she moved in, and the recommendation was made that perhaps
the applicant would be willing to do some landscaping to help mitigate the situation that they had caused. And it's my understanding that that agreement has been made. Sean, if you would just confirm that for us.
That's correct. There is an agreement demonstrated between the applicant and Ms. Sanchez. In light of that, the staff would recommend that that be a condition of the issuance of the CO, that payment for those plantings be made before the CO is issued.
Great, and we do have
If I
that
may.
documentation.
If I may, yes, I spoke to her and she is in support of this.
Yeah, I know, I spoke with her also a number of times, and she's very pleased that we were so caring of her concerns.
Motion.
The motion by
Second.
Councilman O'Connor, second by Councilman Guarjone. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It is approved. I don't believe we do this. Item 24 is the decision item for an application to modify covenants and restrictions for TC 5173 to reduce a buffer and allow for storage.
That's what we just did.
Oh, yeah, I'm so sorry.
Everything else you said.
Yeah, so then that's it.
Motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn by Councilman O'Connor, second by Councilman Guarjone. All those in favor? Opposed? We stand adjourned. Thank you so much.